Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode number 3 of Hell in a Podcast. I am your host, Mr. No Intros Needed, your two-time RWT award winner, and I have a very, very special guest, my first guest, the head of RWT, as I call it, the Vince McMahon of RWT, Mr. Amir Costello. Amir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for the excellent introduction. As I've told you before, man, I'm a huge fan of your show. I remember listening to episode 1, and it was very interesting, man. A lot of great segments, very unique. And then we had to wait a little bit for episode 2, but when it came out, it was well worth the wait. And I remember it was a dedication show for your father and everything like that, and I just thought it was a fantastic concept. And now here we are. You got episode 3 going, and it's my pleasure to be your first guest on the show, man. So I'm ready to get into it.
Awesome. So last episode I did kind of like Tales of Wrestling Past and kind of my history in wrestling. So what are some of your fondest memories and your earliest memories of this wonderful, wonderful sport that we love?
Some of my memories, man. And so I was actually just sharing some old clips to the page yesterday that reminded me of my childhood and stuff like that. When I first started watching wrestling, which is probably about 1989, 1990, I just remember like Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage. I remember being terrified of The Undertaker. I remember Earthquake and Tugboat. And I remember thinking that wrestling was very, very real. I was 4 years old at the time. I had no clue that that wrestling was a work. And I remember one of the things that really stuck out in my head was, I was telling you a little bit about this before, is a Mountie. He used to have this like electric shock stick, and I remember he got Boss Man tangled up in the ropes or handcuffed him or something, and he starts shocking him with the stick, and Boss Man's selling the hell out of the shock. I mean, it's like he's really being electrocuted, and I'm watching that at home, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, somebody help this guy! He's gonna kill this guy. Boss Man is being murdered on live TV, and I as a kid, I just remember like being so captivated and so invested in the stories and the characters that were appearing in front of my face.
Yeah, that's something that, I think this era is kind of missing. We don't have those larger-than-life characters. We don't have, your Hogans, your Warriors, your Savage, people like that. A lot of guys nowadays are carbon copies of each other.
Yeah, it's very true, man. Wrestling lacks originality, but here's the thing. I don't know if it's a matter of the current crop of wrestlers is not creative, or is it a matter of the current crop of wrestlers are themselves such huge fans of wrestling that they kind of want to emulate and pay homage to the wrestlers that they grew up watching, and the ones that like for example, Shawn Michaels. See, there was a time where the super kick was a finisher. Now it's just a move that happens every 5 seconds in a match. But is that people trying to be Shawn Michaels? Unless it's Dolph Ziggler, he's definitely trying to be Shawn. Or is that more people going, that was the best move of my childhood, and now?
Well, I think it's that, and I think also we have the issue where finishers are occurring way too easily.
I'm sorry, what was the last thing you said?
The point you made as far as, finishers and the super kick, if you look at, for example, any finisher, really, they occur too easily.
Okay, so here's the thing about that. And I've heard this complaint before. People will say, hey, it's called a finisher for a reason. So back in the day, when Jake the Snake would hit his DDT, which another move that's just used every 5 seconds now. But see, that move used to put guys away. And when Jake would hit the DDT, nobody's kicking out of that. Like back in the day, a finisher meant the match is now over. If somebody gets their finisher, that's the end of the match for sure. There's no kicking out. And then, as time carried on, people started to do a lot of false finishes. And here's what happens. At first, it made certain characters look very strong. Like, oh my God, who was the first guy to ever kick out of the Stone Cold Stunner? Who was the first guy who ever kicked out of the Tombstone? Stuff like that. But then it stopped making the opponents look strong and just started making the person doing the move look weak, because it's like now it's commonplace for people to kick out of the DDT, obviously, or there's a lot of moves that are meant to be finishers, and if you kick out of it, like John Cena does the AA, it doesn't put anybody away at all anymore. Like he's gonna have to hit the AA maybe 3 or 4 times in a match before you believe it's gonna be over. When back in the day, one AA would get the job done.
Yeah, it's I remember back in the day. I think one of the first that I can remember was Hulk Hogan versus Warrior. I think it was WrestleMania 7, maybe. And Hogan hit the leg drop on Warrior. And 1-2 kick out, and people had never seen that. But nowadays, people kick out of the Tombstone or any finisher, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a thing now.
Here's what makes Ultimate Warrior a jerk. Rest in peace, by the way. He's the kind of guy. He would kick out of your finisher, and he wouldn't even sell it. Like, he would kick out of it and then immediately jump up and start running around the ring, pumping his arms. He was completely unaffected by it.
He's another Ryback.
Correct.
But better.
Or perhaps the original Ryback.
Yeah. I think that's, a problem nowadays. But yeah, it's always good to hear other people's memories with wrestling, and I think this brings us also into our latest news of the wrestling world. I think that the biggest piece, unfortunately, seems to be the apparent retirement of Paige. For people that may not be aware, there was a house show, I believe it was Paige, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville. And I think it was Mickie James, Sasha, and might have been Bayley. And Sasha hit a pretty nasty looking kick on to the back of Paige's head, and Paige went down hard, couldn't stand up, and referee threw up the X. And it's apparently they're saying that she's done. And it's a situation similar to Edge's retirement. And what's your take on that?
Okay, so here's a couple things. Right, I think it is similar to Edge's situation in that it's not like her neck is broken, but it's apparent based on the trauma that she faced that if she takes another, like, the next blow could paralyze her, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, she has to be careful getting out of bed at this point. Now, here's another thing. You referred to the kick from Sasha as like this nasty blow, but the reality is, okay, we watch New Japan wrestling, right? You watch New Japan.
Yeah.
I watch it. These guys are killing each other out there. Like, the only reason why Sasha Banks' kick is going to go down in history is a nasty blow is because it resulted in somebody's career ending. Not because the move itself, when you watch it, it just kind of looks like a standard kick. It didn't look super intense. It's like when Rey Mysterio was wrestling that guy who then died in the ring. I think he had hit the 619, and I just happened to hit the guy right in his temple or something, and the guy ends up dying right there in the ring. When you look at it, it's kind of like, that was really just a standard move. How did that kill that guy? But because we now have the knowledge that the blow was lethal, it was like, man, that move, he must have hit him crazy hard. But I see stuff all the time, and I think to myself, there's no way that person isn't injured. And they just get up and they're fine. I have no idea. Like, even though I know wrestling is a work, I have no idea how they manage to make it look like they're hitting each other so hard.
Right.
Yet they always turn out to be okay. And as far as Paige goes, hell of a tragedy. Like,
Yeah.
her whole. I mean, that's why. And how about this? How about The Rock? Right, The Rock, who's making a movie about her life story. If he waits a few more months, he's going to capture the part where her career ends. And I don't know. I don't know what phase of production the film is in. It's probably wrapped up by now, and then he will have missed the opportunity. But what I'm trying to say is, we all know the ride that Paige has been on.
Yeah.
It's been, first of all, before WWE, her life was crazy enough that you can make a movie about it. And then in WWE, there's all kinds of controversies with her and Xavier Woods and Brad Maddox, and then she gets with Alberto Del Rio, and just disrespecting the company. Showing up at these TNA shows, and then the controversy where Alberto, supposedly is putting hands on her in the airport, and domestic violence, and all these things happen, and then they finally break up, seemingly out of nowhere. She has a tattoo. There's a tattoo of for Alberto Del Rio. These guys break up, and then their breakup immediately. Now she's not with him. She's like, I'm ready to go back to WWE immediately. So that made it clear she was only not showing up in WWE because it was like a big FU to Vince to support her man. And then she comes back, and they still give her this amazing push. And it's like, okay, fine. All is well. All is forgiven. She's back now. Things are going good. And she's back for like 2 seconds, and now her career is literally over. Like, tragedy is this girl's middle name, and I can't believe things really happen like this to people. It's insane.
Yeah, it is. And apparently, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but she has released her first tweet, public statement, whatever you want to consider it, since the news broke. And basically she said that the comeback is harder than the fall, something along those lines. So not sure if maybe the rumors are false. Maybe she isn't as down and out as we have thought she is. Not really sure, but
so okay. Here's the thing about that. First of all, it's kind of a weird tweet to release because you're not exactly addressing the rumors. You're insinuating that you're going to come back, but you're not coming right out and saying that the reports that your career is over are false. Now, the next thing is, you supposedly can never wrestle again. So says a WWE doctor. Also, WWE doesn't like you, Paige. So it's kind of convenient. I mean, if I was her, I would get a second opinion. But with that being said, it's the Daniel Bryan syndrome. I mean, Daniel Bryan's got 86 doctors outside of WWE that says, oh, you're good to go. But the doctors in WWE are like, it's not going to happen. So I don't know. Here's what I'll say about Paige. I suspect that she will wrestle again at some point. But the stories that I've heard have been very clear. She'll never compete in the WWE again. That doesn't necessarily mean that some other doctor, her personal doctor won't clear her, and just kind of like, all right, it's at your own risk, but yeah, if you want to do this, you can do this. And then she'll go compete in Ring of Honor or some other place, and it just won't be WWE's problem anymore.
Well, I think in that regards, and I'm not defending WWE all that much, but with that regard, especially with Daniel Bryan, they are still facing a pretty serious concussion lawsuit. I forget how many talents are in this lawsuit, but they have to be very, very careful with this. If the injury isn't as bad as people think, and who knows, maybe this is all just a big, a big story just to, pull her off TV. I don't know. It's possible that maybe they saw her compete and she wasn't ready. I don't know. I hope the rumors aren't true and that she is still capable of wrestling. But if she is done, then she has nothing to be ashamed of as far as her in-ring career. I've always been curious, the whole scandal with her, and I'm not going to go into that. If people don't know, then Google is your friend, people. But I definitely think that, and I suspect that maybe Alberto had something to do with that. I've often wondered about that.
Like maybe he released the videos.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that I mean, he claimed to love this girl. To me, like if it's somebody you love, like I'm a married man.
Yeah.
If I have videos of my wife being with not one but two guys, and in some of those clips at the same time before she got with me, I don't even want to see it, let alone other people to see it. Like I couldn't do it, man.
Yeah.
Even though it was before me, it wasn't like he was cheating on me. But when you love somebody,
Yeah.
you don't want to see stuff like that. You know? But Alberto Del Rio, I don't know him. I don't know. Honestly, I never really felt like. I don't know him or Paige personally, but their relationship, it seemed like she was super in love, getting tattoos.
It did. It did.
Into him. I never really felt, based on what I could see on the internet, and that's not going off much.
No.
But I never really felt like he was super into her. It just kind of felt like this is just a chick that's on him. Because I mean, she's the one getting tattoos and talking about marriage and calling him Poppy everywhere. He was hardly mentioning her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, she proposed to him.
Right, and then got her family to make him champion of their wrestling company and all kinds of other crazy stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was strange. It's an all-around very tragic situation. Hopefully, like I've said, the rumors are false and that, she's able to turn this around because, I mean, man, if she can turn this all around and, she is okay to compete, man, what a comeback story. I mean, all the personal crap that she's had to deal with over the past, year and a half, and she's able to turn it around and come back, that'd be a great story.
It will be. And again, I suspect if there is a comeback, it won't be in WWE. And you raise a good point about the concussion lawsuit because, first of all, if you look at the people involved in that lawsuit, it's just old wrestlers who are seemingly out of money. It's like, oh, you want to try to say now that you didn't know the risk? Like, you're bumping them. How many times did you think you could get hit in the head with a chair without sustaining some damage? And you weren't complaining about it while you were on the road making money. But now that you don't, these are the same guys that sit at a table for 10 hours and try to charge fans $60 for an autograph and a picture with so and so who used to be a wrestler 15 years ago and is now overweight and whatever. It's so I just feel like there's nobody that's involved in that lawsuit that is successful and still has money. It feels like a money grab. So yeah, WWE does have to be careful, and that's why seemingly they can't. If there's even a suspicion that a person might take a bump that's going to end their career, they can't let it happen there. That's why a guy like Daniel Bryan, if you look at Ring of Honor, they send tweets out all the time like, yeah, we'll take Daniel today. Because they don't have to answer to shareholders, and they're not going to end up in a courtroom because they're small time. WWE is, it's the NBA, it's the NFL, of the wrestling world. They have to answer to things. Here's an example. Every time a kid does a wrestling move and kills another kid, the headline never reads, kid kills another kid with a wrestling move. It always says, 10 times out of 10, 100% of the time says, kid kills other kid with WWE move. So yeah, you're right. They're not in a great position. When you're at the top, it gets lonely.
Yeah.
And, you have to protect, because everything wrestling gets associated with them, even when it has nothing to do with them. They have to do what they have to do.
And speaking of lonely at the top, as we know, about a week or so ago, we had Wrestle Kingdom 12. I believe it was Wrestle Kingdom 12. And the head of New Japan actually did an interview where he expressed interest in working with WWE. And, a lot of people thought, well, this probably is not going to happen, But maybe there is something to it. I mean, Jericho attacking Naito, a lot of people are wondering if maybe there's going to be something, there. Maybe there's something to that. I think if WWE were to do this, talk about money, think of all the publicity they would get from this.
Here's the thing. WWE would not get a lot of publicity from this. New Japan would. The problem with this deal is it does great things for WWE. For New Japan. It gives great exposure to New Japan. It doesn't do anything for WWE at all, except for it could impact them negatively, and I'll explain how. WWE is already a worldwide entity. There's no place in the world that doesn't know WWE where they can't go and sell tickets, and partnering with Japan is not going to make them any bigger of a juggernaut than what they already are. They've made it. Now, the problem is Japan stands to gain everything. They would lose nothing by working with WWE. WWE could lose a lot because it's not the same business model. So there's so many moves in WWE that are banned. They're not allowed to bring color into the match. You can't just bleed. If somebody starts bleeding, the match gets stopped. Physician comes down, tapes the guy up. Maybe the match just gets scrapped completely. Those same rules don't apply for New Japan. So if WWE then allows themselves to be associated with New Japan in that way, then all of a sudden the shareholders go, oh, we thought you guys were cleaning your act up, but it seems like you still find these things acceptable. And then people who are investing in this company began to pull their money out. So I don't think there's going to be some crossover. And I see Jericho. I see what he's doing, but also every wrestler is considered to be an independent contractor. So Jericho is he's furthering his own business, his own interests and entities, but it's not, what he's doing doesn't represent the WWE in any way. People will do a callback to WWE just as a way to get at him, like, you're a WWE guy. Kenny Omega said that, oh yeah, that's why I beat you and I beat your company, and that's just a way to get attention for. That's just, if you mention WWE's name, that makes people pay attention. But I think Jericho's acting on his own accord and furthering his interest in Japan, but he doesn't represent WWE in any official capacity. There's not going to be some sort of crossover because it would just move the needle backwards for WWE. It would be great for New Japan, though, and that's why it won't happen. Yeah.
And it'd be great for the fans, too, I think.
Yeah, but who cares about the fans? I'm a fan. I care about me and I care about you. But these guys, the money doesn't care about us. The investors, the shareholders, that's what matters, because we're fans and we buy things and blah, 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 blah. But these investors, they're pouring hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars into the business. We aren't doing that individually. We're doing it collectively so we can consume a product. But we've also proven to Vince McMahon, no matter what comes on the screen, we keep watching. So it's not like this would just be one more thing that didn't happen for the fans. It's not going to change the viewership at all. It'd be like, Vince had a chance to make us happy and he didn't. That just kind of sounds like business as usual. And when Raw comes on next week, we'll all watch anyway, so it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many times we say hashtag get off my TV. You know who I'm talking about with that one. No names mentioned here. But, who knows? Maybe somewhere down the line, years down the line, maybe something happens. But if it doesn't, oh well. I think more than likely we'd see people from New Japan jump over to WWE and sign with them. I think that's more likely.
Yeah, and the only way it's going the opposite direction. See, nobody's going to leave WWE to go to New Japan. I mean, like, people would have to be done like they're not being utilized properly, like a Cody Rhodes, who's kind of like, you guys are making me be Stardust. I don't want to do this gimmick, so I quit. Fine. And then he ends up in New Japan and Ring of Honor. But as long as people in WWE are having success, nobody goes, man, this is working out great for me in the major leagues. I know it makes sense. Why don't I just jump to the minor leagues then?
Yeah.
So it's not. You're right. It won't go in reverse. Like, with the exception of Kenny Omega and probably the Young Bucks, Bucks. Kenny because he's passionate about what he's doing in Japan, and the Young Bucks because they have a beef with WWE over the merchandise and the cease and desist and all that kind of stuff. But anybody else on that roster, not Kota Ibushi either. He said no too. But basically anybody else, no matter how long they've wrestled in New Japan, if WWE called today, they'd be on the first flight out of Japan, heading right to Stamford, Connecticut to sign that contract.
Oh, I agree with you. And say what you want about the Young Bucks. There's that old saying, money talks, and I think if the offer were right, I think the Young Bucks would go. I think they would sign.
I agree. I mean, they said that too. Matt Jackson was like, never say never.
I think any of them would. Supposedly, there's rumors that a couple members of the Bullet Club within the next year or so could be WWE bound.
Bad Luck Fale.
Yeah, there's rumors that he's possibly headed. Tama Tonga might be. I think Tama Tonga jumping to WWE would be a good move. I would love to see him with his brother Tonga Loa. The Gorillas of Destiny. Tonga Loa, who, I could be wrong. I think this is the one. But he's been in the WWE before.
I don't know, but...
If you remember, the guy now known as Sin Cara was Hunico. He had a kind of a guy who was with Camacho.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
He is now a member of the Bullet Club. And together, those two, Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga, are the sons of WWE legend The Barbarian. Wait, no, not Barbarian. They're the children of Ming / Haku. Obviously one of the best in the business, so... WWE, they like to tout that, so I think money could be made there. And, like, you've said, if the money's right, anybody will go. Okada will even go, even though he said he likes where he is. He'd go.
It'd be sad to see him go, too, because look at the historic title run he's having right now in New Japan. Like, that would never... You think that would happen in WWE? Look at Shinsuke Nakamura. Look at Nakamura. He was the biggest thing coming out of New Japan. He came to WWE. He had one good match against Sami Zayn on NXT, and has done nothing notable since.
Well, I'm a
Nakamura guy.
His matches with Joe in NXT were pretty good, I thought.
Okay, but I don't know how much Nakamura you watched in New Japan.
A little bit.
If you compare his matches with Joe to the matches he was doing in Japan, you realize what he did with Joe was it wasn't up to par for. There's a reason why they fell in love with this guy. This is essentially if a record company sees Michael Jackson, right? Let's just go there because Shinsuke thinks he's Michael anyways, and all the talent he brings, and they go, we got to sign this guy. This guy is gonna be huge at our record company. And then they get him. They sign him. They bring him over. And they go, okay, now that you're here, biggest star on the planet, let's no more of that moonwalking, okay? Let's just cut the moonwalk out. I know you did that where you came from, and that's what got you famous. Let's not do it here. We're a different kind of company, and we just don't like that dance move. Also, no spinning. We don't really like the way your hair looks all juicy all the time. Let's just cut your hair off. And so by the time they take Michael Jackson and turn him into their version of Michael Jackson, he's not Michael Jackson anymore. He's whatever they've created, and then people will watch, but then they'll always think to themselves, hey, remember when he used to be Michael Jackson?
Yeah. And I think there are rumors that, he's slated to win the Royal Rumble and go up against AJ at Mania. And God, if that happens and they let those two go, I think that's going to be a great match.
Listen, it's got to happen. And no offense to Styles, I love Styles. Not only does it have to happen, Styles has got to drop that belt to Nakamura.
He
That's
does.
the only thing.
He does.
If you get Nakamura in a main event match at WrestleMania, I'm not saying it's going to be the last match, but main event nonetheless, and he's for the title against AJ Styles, which is first of all recreating a New Japan Classic in itself. You can't. Nakamura's already lost to Jinder freaking Mahal. You can't put him on that grand stage and let him lose. He's got to go there and walk out with the strap. Otherwise, if he does, he's back on track. We could forgive all kinds of things that have happened in the past few months, and Nakamura will be the man. He'll be the the artist, the rock star, all the things they want him to be. But if you send him to Mania just to get WrestleMania buys, like, hey, it's Nakamura versus Styles, just to get people in the seats, and then he loses, you screwed yourself, because you could make a star for years to come, or you could completely bury this guy.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I want to make it. It seems like an easy choice, but again, this is WWE.
Yeah, I mean, look at Styles. It took Paul Heyman suggesting to them, give him the title again, and look at what it's done for him. And beforehand, if Paul Heyman hadn't opened his mouth, we would still have Jinder Mahal as the champion.
I think what's funnier about that is that the idea that Paul Heyman was offended that anybody could ever think that Jinder Mahal deserved to face Brock Lesnar.
And honestly, I suspect there was a little bit of truth in that promo he cut.
Yeah, I took it all to be true, to be honest. I thought it was just speaking his heart.
Because honestly, I wasn't planning on watching that show. If it was going to be Jinder versus Brock, I wasn't going to watch it. Because, I wasn't interested in it. I was not interested in, I think Brock's matches are all the same anymore. But we'll get into that in a little bit. I think, it just... there's no money in it. There's no money in a Jinder Mahal world title run anymore.
What's more interesting is that the panic that WWE was in. I think they were putting out some surveys and stuff like that. You can always tell when they're panicking, because if you look in your email, you'll get a survey from them. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about these things? And when they realized that Mahal versus Brock Lesnar was going to be a total shitstorm, they were in such a panic to rectify that AJ Styles takes the belt off of Jinder Mahal at a freaking house show. It wasn't even like...
Yeah, it was a SmackDown taping overseas. And
yeah,
it was if I remember, wasn't it like a week or two before the pay-per-view?
Right, and so we had to hear about it on the internet. We couldn't even watch it. It's like, this has got to happen now. Now, everybody get out of bed. Let's somebody ring the goddamn bell.
I remember getting the news alert on my phone, and it says AJ Styles defeats Jinder Mahal to capture the WWE Championship at SmackDown Live taping in London. I'm thinking, oh, okay. But
it's such an FU to, here's why it's an FU to the fans. How about every fan that watched every pay-per-view wanting to see Jinder lose only to watch him win? And then when you finally do let Jinder lose the belt, only the people in the arena can see it? That's stupid.
No, it aired. It aired.
Yeah, it aired, but it wasn't like we got to watch it live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get what you're saying. And
you got an alert, so maybe you went back and watched the match, but you watched with the knowledge of, yes, I know this ends with AJ Styles winning.
Yeah, doesn't mean it wasn't cool though.
Right.
So, next bit of news, a lot of this was kind of under the radar, wasn't really talked about a whole lot. Matt Hardy coming to terms with Anthem and now owns 100% everything to do with the Broken Universe. He owns the rights to the Brother Nero name, Vanguard 1, Senior Benjamin, everything. He owns all of it.
Here's the reason why that didn't get the news coverage that it deserved. Because by the time they settled. He already had the Vulcan character, so there's no more anticipation.
Yeah. However, the counterpoint to that, at least in my opinion, is now we can do so much more. We can have Reby Hardy, on WWE. We can have Jeff Hardy come back as Brother Nero. Matt Hardy actually still uses his YouTube channel and actually just posted a video within the last day or so where you see, you see like a drone flying over his property, but you see the drone's point of view, and you come up on Matt Hardy, his back is to the camera, he turns around, and all he says is, Vanguard 1, I knew you'd come.
Right.
So, a lot of people have been surprised that, we haven't seen Reby Hardy on TV yet. I think at Royal Rumble, I think she will be playing his theme when he goes to meet Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I wasn't super surprised that we haven't seen her yet, because the whole thing was, it's like you said, so Reby, Senior Benjamin, all these guys they're more attached. You can't just wake them up. They can't just become woken, whatever.
Yeah.
They're super glued to the broken gimmick. So it makes sense that they haven't made an appearance yet, because it's like, let's get all these things wrapped up. Because the worst thing would have been to start something and then litigation takes place and it's like, and now this has to stop immediately.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing. So it's like, let's get all this cleared up first so that we know that the light is completely green, and then we'll make a run with it.
And, it's said that Vince is a very big fan of this gimmick, and, that he's gonna let Matt Hardy do, what he needs to do. And I only hope that's true. I hope it's true.
It has to, because this is how you know Vince was a fan of it. I've always hated the other companies who look at WWE, they watch WWE TV, and then the following week, they do the exact same thing WWE did, but they use their version. Like when Eric Young won the title in TNA, I saw Eric Young and I thought to myself, this is just a garbage wannabe Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
You understand? It's like exact same. This is stupid. So when the Wyatts fought the New Day at the Wyatt compound or whatever they were calling it, and it was a blatant ripoff of Matt Hardy's gimmick, it was like, please, WWE, don't be that guy. You guys are number one for a reason. Don't try to this is our version of it, or we could somehow compete or do it better. You can't. Just let Matt Hardy have his thing. So I'm not surprised at all. Like, now that he's here, I'm sure they're going to do, whatever they want to do with it. And now they don't have to, they don't have to go to the Wyatt compound, because now they got the real thing finally.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm looking forward to it. I think people need to give it a chance. This is different. The gimmick hasn't really been done for almost a year now.
Yeah, man. I'll never forget when New Day came out at the beginning of that tag match at WrestleMania, and the crowd knew. We all felt like we knew it was going to be the Hardys, but also, again, it's WWE, so it was kind of like, we really want this to be the Hardys, and all the reports have indicated it's going to be the Hardys. But let's not forget, Roman Reigns came out as number 30 at the freaking Royal Rumble. So you never know. It could have been anybody. And when that music hit, dude, everybody everywhere was like, we finally got something we wanted. I couldn't believe it, man. It was insane. And it wasn't the broken music. It was the Hardy Boys, but just seeing them there.
Yeah.
And he was only able, Matt said delete 2 or 3 times. He had to be careful, but it just felt like, because remember, it was like a Ring of Honor show, maybe New Japan, but I'm pretty sure it was Ring of Honor. The Young Bucks are standing in the ring. They've probably just defeated whoever they're wrestling against and captured some more tag team titles, and they go to cut a promo or something, and then the lights go out.
Yep.
And then Matt Hardy appears on the screen, and he's doing this whole and the crowd, the place erupted. I wanted that moment. I wanted a moment like that in WWE, and the Hardys coming out at WrestleMania, it wasn't as good as that moment, but it was still pretty cool.
It was, and I like I wanted it to be the Hardys, but I figured, they had just competed in a ladder match the night before. They had just lost the Ring of Honor tag titles back to the Young Bucks the night before. So I figured, well, maybe they'll put in an appearance, but they won't wrestle. So, it was a cool moment. So I'll be curious as to see what they do.
You know what else was interesting, too, is historically, Jeff Hardy was always way more over in WWE than Matt Hardy was. And when they came out as the Hardy Boys, I thought to myself, Matt Hardy's been enjoying being the more popular brother with the broken gimmick, and then Jeff kind of tagged along to his gimmick. But like back in WWE now and forced to be the Hardys, I don't know if Matt's going to be able to sustain being the more popular one. But I think with Jeff, going out with injury and the fact that the crowd still got a little bit of the delete stuff going, it was enough to sustain. And now, of course, his wokenness is full blown, and it's awesome. He's the guy after being in Jeff's shadow for all those years.
I think to an extent Jeff kind of let him have it, Whereas, and what I mean by that is that Jeff knows how much it meant to Matt. It seemed like Jeff was kind of dialed back when they came back. He wasn't as kind of out there. So it'll be interesting when he returns from injury, which they're saying is going to be right around Mania time, is to see what they do with him. Does he become Brother Nero again, or maybe does he go to SmackDown and be a single star? I don't think you can go wrong with either choice.
Here's another interesting note on Jeff Hardy, and I shared this into the RWT group, is that 2K is now putting out his entrance on the game, which makes me think, is it about time for the next round of DLC to come out?
Yeah, they haven't put out a release date yet, but I think we'll be seeing that soon. And speaking of 2K, if you recall my last episode, I did a segment where I called Hey 2K, where I kind of made a suggestion as to something I wanted to see in 2K games. What if you could add one thing to the next WWE 2K game, what would you want to see?
I want to bring back something that already existed, and I think it's stupid that they took it out, and it was always my favorite part of the game, and that is create a pay-per-view. I love the idea of being able to create a pay-per-view and make my own matches. Now, the reality is, yes, if you play Universe mode, you could just redo the entire card if you want to, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I want to be able to go, because before Universe mode ever existed, I used to just make my own. I just do the same thing. I would just do my own match cards and stuff. I like the general manager mode and like trying to put together matches and seeing how if it was over with the crowd or not, and blah blah blah. And then creating my own pay-per-view at the end where just booking, you can book every match. So it's never like, it's not like you're presented with a card, because like when I play Universe mode, I skip like 80% of the matches. I might go through. I'm going through SmackDown, Raw. I have 205 Live. I have NXT. I have a show with nothing but the women on it. But I have all these shows, and most of the matches that come up, I skip them because I'm like, nah. And every so often, a match will come up where I'm like, oh, this is interesting. They had the game had the wherewithal to put Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. Oh, I'm just going to be a good match. I'm going to wrestle it. But if I'm creating the card myself, all of a sudden I'm just putting matches that I want to see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play every card on the match because it's gonna be all stuff that I wanted. Where it's here's another thing too. In Universe mode, I want to be able to customize the match like right there on the screen. I don't want to have to go into some other screen to do it. Like if it's Stone Cold versus The Rock, let's say. You used to be able to, on the screen, make it a title match. You didn't have to edit the show before you started it. Like, why are they making all these extra steps? Just let me add the title. Let me change the match right there on the screen like I used to be able to, and we'll be all good.
Yeah, I definitely think simplicity in that regard could be better. They don't have to do too much, but I think it'd be nice to simplify it a little bit. And, it's funny that you had mentioned Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. The other day, I actually, and this is really kind of odd that it happened, I actually had those two, end up in a match together, and the show was a Survivor Series, and it was in Montreal.
Dang.
I just thought that was kind of odd.
Do you ever upload your wrestling matches to your YouTube channel?
No, I gotta figure out how to do that.
You just set your PlayStation to do it. Like when you're done wrestling, you hit the share button on your PlayStation, and then you can trim the clip to where, like, let's say you don't want the entrances to be included, or it was kind of a long match and you want to start it midway. You can trim it how you want it. You give the title, you give the clip a title. You can write a description in the other box, and then it gives you options where you can share it either to your Facebook page or to your YouTube channel. And if you click it and it's not connected, then it's just you just sign in, and then boom, you can start uploading. Because that's what I do. Like whenever I have a good match, I upload it to my personal YouTube channel, and then I'm able to. I'll wait a few weeks, and if I'm bored or something, I go back and watch my matches, because a lot of times I don't know if I won or not. And also, if I uploaded it, I know it was a good match. And so I'll just sit there and rewatch my own matches, and I'm like, this is good. I'm so awesome.
Awesome. Now, on to the next segment. And, like I've done in the past, last episode I had the two different top fives. I'm bringing that one back. So, the first one is your top 5 women's wrestlers. It could be from Attitude Era, could be now, and it could be any company. So what are your top 5 women's wrestlers?
Here's the tough thing about it for me. I'm not super well versed in the women on the independent scene, and I think seeing the Mae Young Classic was great. So when I say top 5, I'm just going to name people that I can remember from WWE. And
that works.
And here's another thing I'm going to be honest about. I'm not sure if I'm ranking them so much in their abilities alone as their abilities and also how hot I thought they were.
That works too.
That being said, number 1 for me, I don't know. I just feel like AJ Lee was amazing. Those shorts, this beautiful smile. She was crazy. She was athletic. I just loved everything about AJ Lee. She's probably my all-time favorite female superstar, bar none. Number 2, I'm going to say, when I was growing up especially, I was a huge fan of Lita. I remember that time, dude, she did that flip out of the ring and bounced off of her chest and neck on the outside. I thought she was dead. It was crazy.
Oh, I remember that.
She didn't even get hurt. She just jumped back. That's what's so crazy. Something that looks like nothing can happen and end a career, and something that looks like a car wreck can happen and the person jumps up like nothing happened. It's crazy. So I'll give number 2 to Lita. Number 3 is Mickie James, but not as she is today. I'm talking Mickie James when she was specifically in the beginning, when she had that feud with Trish Stratus, and she was just this crazy, crazy woman. Oh man, she was something special, and I was quite a bit younger, and I was just like, oh my god, I love her. And then number 4 are going to be 2 newer superstars, and that is Ember Moon. Ember Moon currently has my heart. I just love watching her wrestle. I love her character. Super athletic, very humble. I've watched some specials on her talking about her beginnings. she's fantastic. I love her. And then number 5, I will go ahead and give that spot to, I'm going to say Charlotte Flair. I almost wanted to say Asuka, but I'm a big Charlotte Flair fan. I believe in her. and I believe that she is better than her name. Like she's money. It's not because of her name. It's because she's good.
Oh yeah.
Very athletic. I mean, the moonsault, just beauty. It's very fluid with her, and she has a great backstory, a great history to tell. She tells great stories in the ring. She's put on a lot of classic matches, and there's never been a time where she won something and I thought, oh, she's just getting that because she's Ric Flair's daughter.
Yeah.
Like, I look at her and I feel like she's earned every bit of everything she's ever gotten, and I love and appreciate her. And that's my top 5.
Oh yeah, she's really coming to her own, and you know, I think it's great that now people are acknowledging her for who she is as a competitor, and aren't just saying, well, you're just getting this because because Ric Flair is your daddy.
Yeah, it would be, if somebody really thought that, it would be a tragedy, because don't get me wrong, there have been plenty of wrestlers in the past that got opportunities because they're second and third generation, and they weren't good. They weren't good. They were nothing compared to their fathers and stuff.
Case in point, her older brother David.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, David Flair, was somebody who, hell, they gave him the WCW United States title, and it was clear he wasn't, I don't think his heart was ever really in it.
Yeah, I thought, it was weird. Like, for a minute there, you saw him.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, you just didn't see him anymore. He just, disappeared from wrestling completely.
And it's a shame that Ric Flair's other son, Reed, passed away, because who knows what he would have done.
If anything, right? I heard Charlotte say, it was his dream to get in the ring, and then she's often in the past dedicated matches to him because she feels like she was able to live his dream. But who knows? But David Flair, man, that guy. I remember seeing him at Ric Flair's Hall of Fame speech and stuff like that. Man, that kid put on some weight, didn't he?
Yeah, he got a little chunky.
And that's being nice. I mean,
but you know what? When you don't have to, when you're sitting behind, a desk and you're not having to compete like his dad used to, you don't really have to. But it's interesting, he's not the only one. But it'll be interesting to see what Charlotte does in years to come. So now we have the second top 5, and that is your top 5 favorite tag teams. Again, could be from any company, any time. What are your favorite tag teams?
It's going to be a little bit tougher for me because I feel like I don't think about tag teams as often as I should, because I grew up in, right after the Attitude Era, when it was Ruthless Aggression, and then the PG era, when they first had the brand split, and they literally killed every tag team that ever existed. And there's been a struggle to have good tag teams since then, like two guys who come up together and then stay together, and they're synonymous with one another. I just feel like lately they just take two guys that don't even know each other and go, you and you over there, all right, you're a team now. And then they have to, like Cesaro and Sheamus, they just get tossed together seemingly out of nowhere, and then they have to figure it out. That's different than the Steiner brothers coming up from the beginning together and having so much charisma and compatibility and stuff like that. But I'm going to name 5 tag teams, not in any particular order, but just 5 that have stood out to me.
That works.
Yeah, in the history. I was a huge fan of the Hardy Boys when I was younger, and the Dudley Boys. Oh my God. The first time I saw the 3D, especially through the table, I could not believe it. I remember when the wrestling game came out that year and they were on it. That's all I wanted to do. I was like, I just want to hit a 3D. I just want to hit a 3D. So there's 2 right there that I wasn't as big a fan of Edge and Christian, to be honest. They're not going to make the list today. But for the benefit of those with flash photography, I will do a 5-second post. So we got the Hardy Boys and we got the Dudley Boys. Um, I like the Young Bucks so much. I've never seen a team like the Young Bucks that could make wrestling so much fun, but still make you feel like they're competing. Like the Young Bucks make you feel great about being a wrestling fan. They don't take themselves, they don't take themselves too seriously, but you can tell that they love the business. They're not shitting on the business. They're great at what they do, and
they're so smart. Look at
absolutely.
Look at the deal with Hot Topic. They were instrumental in that. They made that happen.
Yeah, it's freaking amazing. So we got the Bucks, we got the Dudleys, and we got the Hardys. The next tag team that I felt was pretty amazing. They didn't get to do enough together, but I really enjoyed watching them work together, was the Brothers of Destruction. I mean, there was just something crazy. Like, sometimes when two people get together that are like really badass on their own, you look at them and you go, well, nobody's gonna beat them. Like, that's the epitome of like the Undertaker and Kane in a tag team together. It's insanity. It's like, especially Kane from back then, that was very scary. He didn't talk. He just walked around killing people. And you see him after the battles and them trying to kill each other, to see them work together, it was a thing of beauty. Like, you had a fear for other tag teams. Like, oh, you're facing these guys tonight. You don't have a chance, man. They both do choke slams. They both do tombstones. It's over. It's over. And if I had to pick a last tag team, and I want to pick one, I don't want to go all old school. I want to pick one from this generation that I think is great. I want to say the Usos. I'm just going tag team, like strictly traditional two-man. Yeah, I don't want to get into the three-man and stuff like that. The Usos, the thing I like about them, they have been great at every turn. They were great. They were such good faces. You know what I mean? They made you fall in love with them as the good guys, and then they became bad guys, and you liked them even more. Like, it's like it doesn't matter where you put them. These guys are gold no matter what. They're talented. You never looked at them and thought they're getting something that they don't deserve. They're so good. Even when they wrestled other teams and I was like, I'm more a fan of this team, and then the Usos won, I was like, I'm not even mad.
Yeah.
That's how good they are, man. Like, they're money on the mic. That's what makes them great wrestlers. Some guys are like, this guy's great in the ring, like a Jason Jordan, fantastic in the ring, doesn't have a lot of character or charisma on the microphone, so it ruins it. And then you got guys that are, not my opinion, but some people who they say are really good on the mic, like Enzo Amore. Triple H will tell you, he hired Enzo literally just because he could talk. Enzo is shit in the ring, and I think he's not a great talker, but it just goes to show you that some people who are perceived as being good talkers their dreams can still come true in WWE, even if they don't have the in-ring skill. But when you look at the Usos, they're good everywhere, whether they're talking or whether they're wrestling. You pay attention, and they have put on so many classic matches with the New Day, and now with Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. Like, if they're involved, you know it's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah, and I think when their careers are all said and done, they'll be in the Hall of Fame, guaranteed.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic, man.
So
can I just tell you my top 5 singles guys real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, number 1, Shawn freaking Michaels. I don't care what anybody says. He's the greatest. I don't want to hear none of this Ric Flair talk. Shawn Michaels. Seeing him wrestle. When I play the game, by the way, I have Shawn Michaels as however many characters they put out that year for Shawn Michaels, I'll put every version of him on a different show, and I'll make him champion on every show. I don't care. I love Shawn Michaels. He's my all-time favorite. Number 2, Triple H. I grew up a Triple H fan from the very beginning. I don't know if maybe it's because at a certain point he was with Shawn Michaels. That's not what it was, because even when Shawn Michaels left, like, I always loved Triple H. I grew up calling myself the Game, and I hated that he's had to, I don't know, put other guys over. Like, he gets this bad reputation that people are saying he's trying to bury people, blah, 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 blah. But when you listen to the legends of wrestling talk, they say, oh, Triple H, that's the young kid who asks all these questions and really cares about the business. So I don't know. I don't know who's right. Maybe everybody's telling a little bit of truth. But for me, Triple H has always been fantastic. Number 3, AJ Styles. I freaking love AJ Styles. Like, I didn't watch him in TNA because I am a WWE guy, and I've always had a hard time watching other wrestling companies. Not so much now. Now that I'm older, I can kind of watch and just consume all wrestling. But when I was younger, it was a loyalty thing because of the Monday Night Wars and WCW. I never watched WCW, and when TNA came out, I refused to watch them too because I didn't want my viewership to go to anything but WWE. But of course, at some point, if you watch wrestling, even if it's not TNA, you will hear about AJ Styles. And when you watch him wrestle, it's like, oh my God, this guy is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Kenny Omega. When I like last year found out who Kenny Omega was. And every match I watch, it doesn't matter who this guy wrestles, he gives his all, and he makes the other person look so good. He fights guys I've never heard of who don't look like they're going to do much of anything, and he sells so well, it makes it believable. I don't know. He's just amazing, brother. Like, I love Kenny Omega. And then number 5, I'm completely captivated by Shinsuke Nakamura. I hate this watered-down version of Shinsuke, but I love him nonetheless. I will watch the Shinsuke Nakamura match, Kenny Omega, AJ Styles, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. Anything these guys are involved in, I will stop and watch because those are my guys.
You know, I think it's a very good list, and I think I can only hope that with Rumble coming up, this is kind of we'll segue into our next segment. I can hope that Nakamura wins the Rumble, which brings us to our next segment. Where do we go from here? And with Rumble coming up, this seems like really one of the first years, or at least in a very long time, where it isn't clear, who's going to win. Because in years past, you just think, well, this guy's going to win because of this reason. That person is going to win because of that reason. But, it's... I really hope Nakamura wins the Rumble. And it's... I think it'd be a huge shock, and a Styles Nakamura Rumble, main event at Mania. Take my money now.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think to add to what I said earlier about if you put Nakamura against Styles, he's got to win the belt.
Yeah.
I think the other piece of that is he's got to win the Rumble. It's not good enough if somebody else wins the Rumble and then you still find a way to set up Nakamura versus Styles, but you didn't use the Rumble. See, the Rumble legitimizes people. The Rumble puts people over. It's like, this is the guy now. This guy's going on to WrestleMania, and you're almost certain that guy's going to go on to win. Doesn't always work out like that,
yeah.
But it does something to be like, this guy's won the Rumble. Like, look at Austin. He's won 3 times. Shawn Michaels has won it twice. Like, stuff like it, that matters, man. Stuff like that matters. So I think the other piece of the pie is, yes, Nakamura not only has to win the WWE Championship from Styles at WrestleMania, but first and foremost, they need to let him win that Rumble, period.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think, if you do that, you would have history made, because you would have the first Japanese-born Royal Rumble winner. It's never happened before.
Well, if you're WWE and you constantly have Finn Balor, who has made it very clear that he's taken several trips to Japan in the past year, specifically to recruit wrestlers from New Japan to poach. He's trying to poach his buddies to bring them over. Well, how do you bring them over? You offer them money, you offer them accolades. All right, where's the proof? Proof's got to be in the pudding, right? Now, Asuka, they've done great things with her. Fine. Also, these aren't women. These are guys. So make them believe. How do you make them believe? You take the guy who used to lead the show that they are currently on. You let him win the Rumble, and then you put the strap on him, and you show these fantastic Japanese wrestlers that somebody who looks, walks, talks, and acts like them is the head of your company, and then it'll make them go, yeah, if he can do it, I could do it too.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you do that, then your chances of getting Okada, Naito, any of them shoot up insanely. I think then you're more likely to get those two.
Yeah, I agree, and they have to take into consideration, it's asking a lot. Like, if you look at Nakamura, he left his country to come be here, and when he first got here, he couldn't even do any mic work because he didn't speak any English. And now it's getting better little by little. He says more and more sentences and stuff like that. But you understand, he's not amongst his countrymen.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, he's around Randy Orton. So these aren't his customs. This isn't his food. This is not what he's used to. He left his family. His way of life, things that are familiar to him. He left all that behind to pursue a dream here in America. That's a lot to ask of an individual. And if you want some of these other guys to make that same sacrifice to come wrestle in your company to further it, they have to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's got to be more reward to it than just, I can say I was a WWE superstar. Who gives a crap about that? If you never got to hold the strap or win the Rumble or any of these other things, then what was it all for?
It'd all be for nothing.
Right.
So, I think we have a pretty clear way forward. And I think, the way forward is through Shinsuke Nakamura. I think this is going to be his year.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm hoping they get themselves together. It's WWE will always be tough. We'll always want them to do what we want, and there's always going to be more chance. It's more likely than not that they won't do it that way. And because we want it, that's why it feels like it won't happen. But I always hope against hope that they get it, that they hear us, and they make that thing happen.
I think I just can only imagine what the crowd is going to sound like. Say it is Nakamura Styles. Nakamura hits that Kinshasa. Referee counts 1, 2, 3, and then the bell rings. The crowd's going to go wild.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing. This company, you look at some of the WrestleMania moments that they've made in the past. The problem with WrestleMania moments is every time they show the greatest moments, it's all stuff that was like 10 years ago. There's not been anything notable in the last few years that was actually positive. The most notable WrestleMania moment was Taker losing, and everybody hates to relive that. I don't know anybody who went, Taker lost? Yes, I was waiting for that to happen. I think a lot of hearts were broken the night that Taker lost his streak. So it's kind of like, this is your chance to have a WrestleMania moment in this generation, in this era, instead of like, let's look at all the great WrestleMania moments. And then Macho Man pops up on the screen, because that's how long it's been since anything great happened.
I think this could be this generation's equivalent of HBK winning the world title for the first time.
Yeah, man, that happened, right? In Anaheim.
Yeah, Anaheim, California.
That Iron Man match. And nobody will ever forget that. Him bowing down to the title when the referee raised his hand, the way he threw his head back. It was such a surreal moment. You could tell it really meant so much to him, and it meant so much to everybody in the crowd. It was like this is fantastic, and I want that for Shinsuke Nakamura, and I think it's owed to him.
Yeah, hell, he put over Jinder Mahal twice.
He looked legit afraid too. I'll never forget his face when Jinder grabbed him from behind and he had put his hand on Shinsuke's chest because he was going to do the Kalash. The look on Shinsuke's face, he looked like he had been legit grabbed by some unknown being, and he looked terrified. It's so funny.
And he's probably thinking, great, I really have to put this idiot over.
After all the great matches he had in New Japan, where all kinds of crazy moves have been done to him, and he was allowed to kick out of all of them, and then now you're gonna get pinned by one Colossus. It's a stark change, and it's not a super positive turnaround. But again, this can all be rectified,
and I think it will be. So we're nearing towards the end of this. We just have another segment or two. Segment I introduced on the last episode, Flip Flop. Two guys that need to turn, either heel, one heel that needs to turn face, and one face that needs to turn heel. Who would you say those two are?
I think I think a face that needs to turn heel. Can we just hurry up and take Daniel Bryan? Let's just make this happen already. First of all, everybody loves heel Daniel Bryan. It's not like we've never had it before. We all love it. It's fantastic. And how much more? It's one of those things where if you have heel Daniel Bryan working with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, everybody's going to love him. It might still be face Daniel Bryan because he's going to be doing despicable things, but they're going to cheer the hell out of him, and it's going to be fantastic. A little bit more difficult is who is a heel right now that should become a face. I'm trying to even think of who the freaking heels are right now. I know there's probably a lot of them. There's so much. It's not super defined because look at the people who are supposed to be heels. It's like Rusev, he's a heel. Is he? He's super over. Everybody loves him right now. Or the Usos, they're bad guys right now. They're heels. Are they? The crowd always cheers for them. So this generation of wrestling fans loves heels. So even when you're supposed to be the bad guy, but you're more over than the good guys, and that's why it's difficult, like for me to pick somebody because the people that I would pick, they're already over. Everybody already loves them. Is there anybody that comes to your mind?
It's a little bit tougher. I think a face that really needs to turn heel like now, Jason Jordan. I think he needs to turn. Had he not been injured, I would have said Dean Ambrose needs to turn heel.
Yeah, his gimmick was. Dean Ambrose is not doing. I mean, he's injured now. Before he was injured, I don't think he was doing anything significant. The only time I liked Dean Ambrose was when the Shield first came out, and because I thought he was great on the mic. I never was a believer in his in-ring skills.
No.
Now I didn't see him on the indie circuit, so I don't know what they saw in him besides his skills on the microphone that made them think this guy's great, or also made them think this guy deserves to be WWE champion. There are guys who have been there for years, who never got to wear that strap. Dean Ambrose was a champion. Like, it's crazy. I'm not hating on Dean Ambrose. I just feel like he's very one-dimensional. There's nothing special about Dean Ambrose. Especially if you look at if you start comparing him to his peers. Like, he can't do what AJ Styles can do, Nakamura. He can't wrestle the caliber match that comes from a Kenny Omega. But he has been WWE champion.
He has.
Help me understand it. What am I missing?
I look at Ambrose and, I think, when he won the title, I think they were just grabbing at straws, trying to have that feel-good moment that, they like to go, they like to do that. And, I think he held it as long as he should have, I don't think he'll ever be world champion again. Maybe Intercontinental, maybe United States. He'll never be a world champion again.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Here's the thing: I wouldn't be mad at that unless he comes back, new and refreshed and does something significant. But if he's not doing that, if it's just going to be the same old Dean Ambrose, then it's kind of like, I don't enjoy being a mid-carder or whatever. But I don't know, man. I just don't feel like Dean Ambrose is a WWE champion. I think he's been fortunate enough he was a part of the Shield, and that was great. And his gimmick, being crazy Dean Ambrose, I mean, that's cool. He always reminded me of this generation's, Cactus Jack or something like that. there's not a lot of wrestling moves. He just runs into people and like throws his fist, but it's not like he's not doing a lot of wrestling out there.
No.
It's just like, why do you have to run to the other turnbuckle and then step on it and then and then turn around and run back to the guy? You're doing all this extra running. Just do a move, man. Do a wrestling move, please.
I think I do really think that when he comes back, he will turn. But as far as for me, a heel that needs to turn face, maybe not necessarily a defined heel / face, but I gotta go Alexa Bliss.
Oh, you want her to be a face?
Not necessarily like, your squeaky clean baby face.
Yeah.
But kind of more like the in the middle kind of where they can kind of be, I would say, a heelish face.
It's tough with her. She's another one of those that she's a heel, but again, she's so loved by the fans. It doesn't. I mean, look at her. They don't. Okay, look. I was live in the house when she took the strap off of Bayley. Some of the crowd was upset, but only because it was Bayley's hometown. It wasn't. She still got cheered when she took the strap off of Bayley, even though it was Bayley's hometown. And if you look at Alexa Bliss, if we're just being honest, is there any reason why she should have been the first woman ever to say that she held both the SmackDown Women's Championships and the Raw Women's Championship? I don't really feel like her moveset. I don't know. I look at other women who are more athletic and do more in the ring. Look how long she's held that strap. I'm not a Sasha Banks fan because I think Sasha Banks is she's a jerk, in real life. But every time Sasha Banks held the belt, she would win the belt at a pay-per-view or something, and then she every single time I think has lost the belt immediately, like the next Raw. Like they never let her hold the title for any significant amount of time at all. Then you look at Alexa Bliss. She's been champion for like almost a year. But why? What is, other than the fact that she's pretty and she can talk on the mic, she's a good talker, but like her in-ring ability, what is so good about Alexa Bliss that she has held that strap? Look, when Charlotte went to SmackDown Live, I think everybody's immediate thought was, well, now the way has been cleared for Sasha to take over and have a good long run with the title, because the only person standing in her way seemingly was Charlotte. Except for that didn't happen. Enter in Alexa Bliss, and what are we doing here? I don't know.
I think another person that needs to turn heel, Sasha Banks. I think this whole her being a goody two shoes, I don't buy it.
Yeah, we've been waiting on Sasha Banks' heel turn for forever. I stopped looking for it.
I think she, let her be who she is, and that she's a better heel. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're probably right, man. Because the thing about it is, she doesn't like fans, anyways. I mean,
No.
She's somebody she wants the money, but she's not. I mean, and she wants to be able to wrestle, but she doesn't want fame necessarily. Like not the kind where people come up to you in public. She doesn't want that part of it. So she's a heel, at least when she's being a bitch to fans, the way that she is now. At least people will go, oh, she's supposed to be that way. She's a heel, as opposed to thinking she's just being this way because she's a jerk in real life. But at least if she's a heel character, then she can fall back on that.
And, from everything I've read, it really is that person. She's not good with fans. And supposedly, people that have had positive interactions with her, they've said it's felt very forced. Like you can tell she doesn't really want to be there.
What I would do here, this was.
You still there?
And she was with another wrestler, like, I would ask for their autograph. I mean, I would speak to Sasha because I know already. I know she doesn't want to be bothered by the fans, and I think it's a big fu to the fans to go like, I will accept you watching me. I will accept you buying my merchandise and making me rich and famous. But when you see me in public, don't ask me for an autograph. That's too much. But you can spend all your money on me, and I don't have any problem with you having your time monopolized by watching my matches. So look at Matt Hardy. There's a clip of him going around the internet where he's taking all kinds of pictures with fans. He's Matt Hardy. He's way more famous and over than Sasha Banks could ever to be. And he does it because he appreciates people. Like, what makes her so good? What gives her the right to shit on people, right? So I just don't like it. So if I ever saw her, let's say she's out and, they're in Los Angeles, her and Becky Lynch, I'd be like, oh my God, Becky Lynch. Oh my God, this is crazy. Can I take a picture with you? And Becky, who takes pictures with fans, would go, yeah, sure, absolutely. And I would take a picture with Becky, and I'd be like, oh my God, it's so amazing. Thank you so much, Becky Lynch from WWE Superstar. And then I would just walk away. I wouldn't ever say anything to Sasha at all.
And I imagine you'd probably get this dirty, dirty stare.
Well, I mean, you don't want to be bothered, so.
It's... And I think she's even said, she doesn't like to be bothered, and it's... I can understand, and Rollins has even said similar things, but he said he doesn't mind doing autographs. He doesn't like when, he has people waiting for him at the gym or, hounding him. That I can understand.
I get that. Here's the thing. I get that, too. My problem with Sasha is what she's saying, look, there are things that the WWE offers. If you want to meet me, you go stand in line behind 3,000 other people that want to meet me at an autograph signing. But it's like, do you even, Sasha Banks, before you were famous, do you remember what it was like to see a famous person in person and be like, oh my God, that's so-and-so? And then, if you had the chance to speak to them, did you sit there to yourself and go, oh, they probably don't be bothered by me because I'm a fan, so I'm not going to say anything to them? Or, no, of course you didn't. You had your cousin Snoop Dogg who would take you backstage, and there's a billion photos of you as a little girl posing with all kinds of wrestlers at the time. Now, imagine if one of them had said to her, you didn't wait in line with the 400 other people at the autograph signing, so don't come up to me now backstage just because your cousin Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Nobody treated... Yeah, so, why does she think it's okay? And I'm not saying... I get that there are, fans who get the autograph and then they just try to sell it on eBay and blah, blah, blah. I know those people exist, but so everybody has to suffer because of those assholes? I don't get it.
Yeah. It's... Unfortunately, she still has that diva mentality. It's... Look at people like Bayley. There are videos of fans meeting her, and she's a fan. She is still a fan and will sign autographs.
Right.
So... This brings us to our final thought. So, wrapping it up, where do you think we're headed for with Royal Rumble coming? What are you looking forward to?
This is what I'm looking forward to. I think look at it like this. Let's look at RWT to understand how wrestling is trending. This time last year, when Wrestle Kingdom 11 happened and Kenny Omega fought against Okada, there was 2 or 3 people talking about it, but it didn't really hit big in the group, and pretty much Phoenix Jericho led the way, always bringing up New Japan. Nobody else ever really jumped on it. And you flash forward a year later in the group, and for the past, ever since Wrestle Kingdom happened, New Japan stories have dominated our timelines. They are here. It is a thing now. They're going to be in Long Beach for the second time in the month of March or next month or something, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm at that show. I hope WWE understands, when you compete against yourself, it's not really real competition. No. You don't feel like you have to be creative, because if you're the only game in town, who cares if you suck? The only way people can consume this product is by going to you. But when there's this up and coming, this new guy on the horizon, Kurt Angle talked about this, where he's like, I was the guy in the company and I was doing great, and then I met this kid named John Cena. Kurt Angle knows what it's like to see a new up-and-coming person with all this momentum. You can't hope to stop it. You can't get in the way of it. It's just going to overtake you. And if WWE doesn't do something spectacular, Royal Rumble, we all know, is the start of WrestleMania season. If WWE doesn't do something spectacular, they may be at some point overtaken by New Japan. So here's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to WWE being spooked by what was Wrestle Kingdom 12. And hopefully, remember last year's Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
There was literally no surprise entrance. Nobody came out that didn't already wrestle for the company. Nothing. It was just like person after person. And we held on, brother. It was like, all right, it's number 25. There's maybe the last 5 people. Somebody's going to come out and be a surprise. It's number 28. There's still 2 more chances. And nothing. It was the worst Royal Rumble ever, I swear to God.
We did get a surprise. We got Roman Reigns. It's number 30.
Yeah, that kind of surprise was like, surprise. They blew it.
I was more surprised that he didn't win it.
Yeah, did H win?
No, that was the year before. Last year was Orton, because he, remember he went on to face Bray Wyatt?
Bray Wyatt, okay. So, I didn't get any of that. Orton winning the Rumble? Really? Why are we... He's past that part of his career. Like, they always talk about the importance of building up new stars.
Yeah.
Then don't have some, 14-year veteran or whatever he is win the freaking Rumble.
And honestly, just as an aside there, Bray Wyatt should have beaten him at Mania and retained the title.
All day. Nobody will even remember that Bray Wyatt held that title. That's how brief it was, and that's how insignificant it was.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to a time where New Japan gets so big that it forces WWE to be creative again. Now, this WWE and the word creative that put together, that's an oxymoron. They're the opposite of each other. But I can't wait for a time where it begins to mean the same thing.
Yeah. And, I think that's a very fair hope. It's something that personally I hope too. I think Wrestle Kingdom 12. I really think Triple H and company are paying attention. They may not admit to it, but I think they're watching. So with that being said, I want to thank you again for coming on to the program, and everyone listening, you can look forward to this and many, many more episodes coming soon. And this episode should be going live within the next day or so. And Amir, thank you for your time, and as always, it was a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, brother, and I'm again huge fan of Hell Podcast. I wish you plenty of success.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in, and as always, stay tuned because there's more coming.